Few expressions are as common and as overlooked as the phrase etc. It appears in conversations, books, speeches, shopping lists, and even legal documents. Most people shorten it to etc. and use it without giving it a second thought. Yet this tiny abbreviation carries a history stretching back thousands of years, linking modern conversations to one of the world's most influential ancient languages. The story of etc. is more than the history of two Latin words. It is also the story of how languages borrow from one another, how traditions survive across centuries, and how a phrase designed to save time became one of the most recognizable expressions in the world. Although it seems ordinary today, its journey through history is surprisingly fascinating. Right here, on History of Simple Things. The phrase etc. comes directly from Latin. It is made up of two words, et meaning and cetera meaning the remaining things or the rest. Together, the phrase simply translates to and the rest or and other similar things. It allowed a speaker or writer to avoid listing every single item when the pattern was already clear. Imagine an ancient Roman merchant writing an inventory of goods. Instead of listing every type of fruit, cloth, or pottery in storage, they could name a few examples and finish with etc. The meaning was understood immediately. There were more items like the ones already mentioned, but writing them all down was unnecessary. It was an efficient shortcut, and efficiency was highly valued in Roman administration and scholarship. Because Latin was a language built on precise grammar, etc. fit naturally into both formal writing and everyday communication. It wasn't considered a fancy phrase. It was simply practical. The Roman Empire eventually declined, but Latin remained the language of religion, education, science, and law throughout much of Europe. For centuries, scholars from different countries communicated in Latin even if they spoke completely different native languages. As books were copied by hand in monasteries and universities, etc. appeared repeatedly in manuscripts, legal records, and religious writings. Students learned it while studying grammar, and it became a familiar expression among educated people. When modern European languages developed, many Latin phrases were kept instead of being translated, and etc. survived because it was simple, practical, and universally understood. Although the full phrase is only 2 words long, writers eventually shortened it to etc. The abbreviation saves space while keeping the exact same meaning, making it especially useful in books, newspapers, and official documents where every line mattered. As printing became more widespread, using abbreviations also helped make text cleaner and more efficient. Over time, etc. became even more common than the complete phrase. Many people grew up using the abbreviation without realizing it came from Latin. A common mistake today is saying and etc., even though at already means and, making the extra word unnecessary. Despite that small error, the abbreviation remains one of the most widely recognized shorthand expressions in the English language. English has changed enormously over the centuries, yet etc. has remained almost unchanged. The main reason is that it is short, flexible, and instantly understood. While phrases like and so on or and the rest can mean the same thing, etc. fits naturally into both formal and casual writing. It works equally well in school papers, scientific articles, business documents, and everyday notes. Its survival also reflects Latin's lasting influence on English. Thousands of English words have Latin roots, especially in science, medicine, law, and education. etc. is one of the clearest reminders that useful expressions can survive long after the language they came from is no longer spoken in everyday life. When a phrase remains practical, people rarely feel the need to replace it. Today, etc. appears in school notes, books, reports, shopping lists, and everyday conversations. Most people use it without thinking about its ancient origins because it has become such a natural part of modern communication. It is one of those expressions that people learn early in life and continue using without much thought. Good writers know that etc. should be used carefully, since overusing it can make writing vague. However, when the remaining items in a list are obvious, it provides a quick and effective way to avoid repeating unnecessary details. In casual speech, people sometimes even say etc. out loud to suggest that a list could go on much longer, making it useful beyond just written language. What makes etc. remarkable is how little it has changed over thousands of years. While empires have risen and fallen, languages have evolved, and technology has transformed communication, these two Latin words still perform the same job they did in ancient Rome. Very few everyday expressions can claim such an uninterrupted history. Its lasting popularity shows that practical expressions often stand the test of time. Every time someone writes etc., they are unknowingly continuing a tradition that has connected writers and speakers for more than 2,000 years. It is a small reminder that language is constantly evolving, yet the most useful ideas can remain almost unchanged across countless generations. The phrase etc. may seem ordinary, but its history spans more than 2,000 years. From ancient Rome to modern conversations, it has remained a simple and practical way to say, "and the rest." Its survival reflects the lasting influence of Latin on modern languages and shows how useful expressions can outlive the civilizations that created them. Even today, every time someone writes or says etc., they are continuing a small linguistic tradition that has endured for centuries. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.